My name is Mara Ellison. I was 26 years old when I realized the most dangerous person at my sister's engagement party was the woman everyone had come to celebrate. I was standing near the family table when I saw her glance around, shield my wine glass with her body, and empty something from a folded packet into it. She moved so smoothly that no one else noticed. Then she smiled at the guests and walked away, like she'd only adjusted a place card. I didn't confront her. Didn't let my expression change. I waited until she turned toward the stage, switched our identical glasses, and stepped back before anyone saw. This is second seat stories. If you've ever had a sibling who needed you to fail so they could feel like they were winning, you already know exactly the kind of night I'm about to walk you through. Engagement cue. Hook line for a like prompt. When she returned, she lifted the glass now meant for her and leaned close. "Congratulations," she whispered. "You'll understand my gift soon enough." I raised the clean glass and smiled. She watched me drink, convinced she'd won, then took a long sip from the other one. Seconds later, the screen behind the band flickered to life. A folder appeared with my full name across it, and 4 words underneath: "What Mara stole from us." A few guests laughed, expecting a playful slideshow. My parents looked confused. My fiancé stopped mid-conversation. My sister kept smiling, but her fingers tightened around the stem of her glass. She wanted everyone to watch me lose control while she destroyed my reputation. What she didn't know was that I'd seen everything, and the evidence inside that presentation was about to expose something much bigger than either of us. My sister's name was Celeste Ellison. For 31 years, she'd been treated like consequences were meant for other people. Growing up, she was always introduced first. When she succeeded, the whole family celebrated. When she failed, my parents rushed to explain why someone else was responsible. My father, Walter, called her ambitious. My mother, Elaine, called her sensitive. Together, they turned every mistake Celeste made into a reason for someone else to apologize. I learned early that fairness wasn't a rule in our house. It was something my parents offered only when Celeste didn't feel threatened. By 26, I'd stopped fighting for their approval. I worked as a financial compliance analyst for a healthcare network in Rochester, reviewing reports, verifying transactions, noticing when numbers didn't match the stories people told. Not glamorous work, but I was good at it. I'd built a stable career without family money, and a life where asking reasonable questions wasn't treated like betrayal. Celeste owned a luxury image consulting and event company in Manhattan. Online, her life looked perfect. Rooftop dinners, hotel openings, designer showrooms, private parties where every detail looked expensive. My parents shared every post as proof of her success. They never mentioned the unpaid vendors, the failed contracts, or the credit card bills my father quietly covered. Whenever I questioned another rescue, my mother accused me of jealousy. The truth was simpler. Celeste could only tolerate me while I stayed less visible than she was. That changed when our grandmother, Beatrice Ellison, gave me limited oversight of part of the family investment trust, not ownership. She asked me to review large expenses, monitor a reserve account, and work with her attorney whenever money moved. She chose me because I read everything carefully, and because I could say no. Celeste heard only that Grandma trusted me more. At dinner, she smiled and joked that someone boring should handle the paperwork. Later, she cornered me near our parents' garage. "You always make people think you're better than me," she said. That sentence explained everything. She didn't hate me because I'd taken something from her. She hated that my stability made her performance harder to maintain. My relationship with Noah Grant made it worse. Noah was a structural engineer who believed promises mattered even when no one was watching. Calm, practical, completely unimpressed by Celeste's status. Years earlier, before Noah and I got serious, Celeste had flirted with him at a family dinner. He politely changed the subject. She never forgave either of us for that. Noah and I were planning a small wedding for the following month. Celeste called it depressing, but I could see the irritation underneath the jokes. Her engagement party had nearly 150 guests, clients, hotel executives, relatives, colleagues of her fiancé, Gavin Rhodes. Gavin was a development director for a boutique hotel group and had no idea Celeste's company was struggling. To her, marrying him wasn't just love. It was proof she belonged in the world she'd been pretending to dominate. That's why her plan initially made no sense to me. Why risk destroying her own engagement party just to humiliate me? The answer started to appear when my best friend Jade Porter reached me with her phone. Jade worked as an e-discovery paralegal and knew exactly how to preserve digital records. "Mara, this was just sent to your family group chat," she whispered. I'd never even been added to that chat. On her screen was a cropped bank transfer with my name circled in red. Above it, someone had written, "Ask Mara why Grandma's money paid her private expenses." The transfer looked real because it was real. What made it a lie was everything Celeste had removed. Across the room, my mother read the same message. My father looked from his phone to me with immediate suspicion. Neither one asked who had sent it. They just looked at me like I'd already been convicted. That familiar isolation settled over me. I didn't let it become panic. I told Jade to save the message, the number, the timestamp, the recipient list. Then I looked toward the stage. Celeste was speaking urgently to a man beside the projection equipment. When she noticed me watching, she lifted the glass she'd taken from our table and smiled. Her eyelids were starting to look heavy, but she still looked confident. She believed the slideshow would make every question about her disappear. She didn't know the screenshots, meant to destroy me, were about to lead directly to what she was hiding. The transfer Celeste displayed was connected to repairs at our grandmother's home. After a pipe burst during a winter freeze, water had damaged 2 rooms, part of the electrical system, and the flooring. Grandma approved the repairs. Her attorney reviewed the contract. My father signed the authorization, and the insurance company later reimbursed the trust in full. Every dollar was documented. Celeste had cropped the transaction above the description and below the reimbursement, leaving only my name, the amount, and the trust account. Anyone unfamiliar with the actual records would assume I'd paid myself. I opened the secure trust portal and found the complete statement. Jade compared it against the image from the family chat. "Someone exported this, removed the notes, then saved it again," she said. The file name contained the initials of Celeste's company and a project code dated 12 days earlier. Not proof of the entire plan yet, but enough to connect the document directly to her business. Then Jade remembered something important. Earlier, while recording the band, she'd accidentally captured the family table in the corner of her video. We stepped behind a decorative wall and watched it. The image was small, but the sequence was unmistakable. I stepped away from my wine. Celeste approached. Her shoulder blocked most of the glass, but her hand moved from her purse to the rim. She checked the guests around her, then walked away. Then I returned and switched the glasses. Jade stared at me. "You actually exchanged them?" I didn't know what else to do. Saying it out loud made the choice feel more frightening than it had in the moment. Jade lowered her voice. "We need to tell the venue." The winery's operations director was a woman named Taryn McCall. I found her near the catering station and explained that I'd seen someone place an unknown substance into my wine, and that the person who drank from that glass was becoming unusually tired. I showed her Jade's video. Taryn contacted the property's medical staff immediately, ordered both glasses removed and preserved, and had security save footage from the family table, the stage, and the service hallway. She never once dismissed me as dramatic, or tried to protect the venue's reputation over my safety. While a medical worker quietly checked on Celeste, Taryn examined the projector area. The man operating it wasn't part of her regular staff. His name was Derek Sloan, an independent technician Celeste had hired, telling the venue he belonged to her company's production team, so he'd be given access to the main screen. The approved program was supposed to be a welcome message, a short video about Celeste and Gavin, and family photographs, nothing titled "What Mara Stole From Us." Taran asked Derek to step into an office over a technical concern. He got defensive, glanced toward Celeste before answering, and was escorted away without a scene. Before restricting his laptop, Taryn's staff copied the presentation and system logs. Derek admitted Celeste paid him to replace the approved slideshow with a folder she'd provided. Her instructions said the timing was critical, because Mara would be ready for the truth after the family toast. He claimed he thought it was a dramatic family announcement. He denied knowing anything about the wine, and no evidence connected him to it. His role was limited to the projector, but the emails and payment record proved the presentation had been planned in advance. The more we learned, the less this looked like jealousy exploding at a party. Celeste wanted the guests to see me confused, emotional, and unable to explain suspicious financial documents. She wanted my parents and Gavin's colleagues to believe I'd abused Grandma's trust. If enough people accepted that story, she could push my parents to demand my removal from financial oversight before anyone actually examined the accounts. Celeste's speech had slowed by then, and she kept gripping the edge of the stage, but she refused to sit down. "Start the family slides," she insisted. Gavin asked if she'd eaten enough. She pulled away, glaring at me. She'd expected me to be the one struggling. Instead, she was the one losing focus. I didn't enjoy watching that. I wanted her exposed, not seriously harmed, and I was relieved the medical staff stayed close. Security reviewed the footage from the camera above the family table. It showed Celeste approaching my glass at the exact moment Jade's phone had captured her hand. Neither video clearly showed what she'd placed inside, but together they supported my account. For the first time, I had evidence beyond just my word against hers. The most important discovery, though, was the date on Celeste's slideshow. It had been created before Grandma's attorney announced an upcoming review of the trust. Celeste hadn't prepared a cruel prank. She'd prepared a defense against something she believed could destroy her. Jade found Noah near the terrace and brought him into the service corridor. I watched the moment he understood this wasn't ordinary family drama. His shoulders tightened, but he didn't storm toward Celeste or threaten anyone. He came straight to me. "What do you need?" For most of my life, my family had told me what I should endure, forgive, and quietly accept. Noah gave the choice back to me. He asked whether I wanted to leave, call the police immediately, or stay until the presentation was stopped. For a moment, I wanted to walk away and let everyone else deal with the consequences of believing Celeste. But I knew exactly what would happen. She'd say I'd fled because the documents were true. My parents would repeat her version, because it was easier than admitting what they'd actually witnessed. By morning, the story would be that I caused a scene and disappeared the second I was questioned about money. "I want to stay," I said. She planned this so no one would believe me on Monday. Noah nodded. "Then I stay with you." Engagement cue. If the story is landing, this is a natural mid-video prompt. Smash the like button before we get to what's on that screen. Taryn gave us a private office to reach Judith Klein, Grandma's attorney. Judith had managed the trust for years and rarely reacted emotionally. When she appeared on the video call, she skipped straight past the pleasantries. I described the wine, the edited transfer, Derek's emails, and the date on the presentation. Judith confirmed the repair transaction was completely legitimate and that my limited authority remained active. More importantly, someone had attempted to access restricted trust documents several times over the previous month. The failed request traced to an internet address connected to Celeste's Manhattan office. Judith hadn't accused her outright yet, since technical records can be incomplete, but she'd already scheduled a full review for Monday. Someone had also requested a certified list of trust properties, as if trying to prove those assets could support a loan. Was it approved? I asked. "No," Judith said, "but a lender contacted my office yesterday to verify a letter carrying my signature. I did not write it." Celeste hadn't just viewed information without permission. Someone had created a false legal document using Judith's name. Judith sent verified copies of the repair approval, the insurance reimbursement, my authority documentation, and the lender inquiry directly to Taryn's secure computer. Jade arranged everything in order. The accusation, the complete transaction, the reimbursement, the signatures, and the metadata connecting the edited image straight back to Celeste's company. Taryn prepared a separate laptop and saved every file in more than one place. While we worked, my parents found me. My mother came in holding her phone. "Mara, people are asking questions. This is Celeste's engagement party. Can you please avoid making it worse?" She'd just been shown an accusation that I'd stolen from her own mother. Her first concern was still Celeste's embarrassment. "Did you ask where the screenshot came from?" I said. "That is not the point right now." "It is exactly the point." My father stepped between us. "If the transfer is legitimate, explain it privately. After the party." "She put something into my wine," I told him. My mother looked away. My father frowned. Are you certain about what you saw? I showed them Jade's video and explained the venue had preserved its own footage, along with both glasses. My mother suggested maybe Celeste had just added sweetener, or was playing an immature joke. An immature joke doesn't require an unauthorized technician and a fabricated presentation, I said. My father lowered his voice. We will handle your sister. Just don't turn this into a public attack. She invited 150 people to watch a public attack on me. They had no answer for that. Even with evidence directly in front of them, they still expected me to protect Celeste from the consequences of her own choices. That expectation no longer controlled me. I am not going to insult her, I said. I will show the complete records after she shows the edited ones. What happens next will be the result of what she prepared. Back in the main room, Gavin was trying to convince Celeste to sit down. She refused, insisting the family toast had to happen on schedule. When he asked what the presentation contained, she called it a surprise that would protect the family from future embarrassment. He came over to me. Is something wrong with Celeste? The venue is handling a concern involving a drink and an unauthorized presentation. Let the staff do their jobs. He glanced toward the medical worker in Derek's empty chair. Did Celeste arrange this? You will see the same evidence everyone else sees. A few minutes later, Taryn confirmed the system was fully under her control. Celeste didn't know it yet. I could have stopped the presentation right there, but then she'd simply deny everything and claim the files had been planted. I needed the guest to hear her introduce the accusation willingly. I needed her own words to establish intent. When the band finished, Celeste reached for the microphone. Noah stood beside me. Jade waited at the secure laptop. Judith stayed connected on the call. Taran gave me one final chance to cancel the presentation. I looked at my sister and at the guests turning toward the stage. Let her begin, I said. Celeste believed I was letting her control the room. She had no idea every lie she'd prepared was about to be displayed right beside the truth she'd removed. She stood beneath the lights, one hand around the microphone, the other resting on the table for support. Gavin stood behind her, concerned, confused. She smiled at the guests, and for one moment, the polished version of my sister returned. An engagement is not only about two people, she began. It is about bringing families together through honesty. My mother laughed softly. My father stared at the floor. Sometimes honesty is uncomfortable, Celeste continued. Sometimes the person hiding the truth hopes everyone will stay silent to keep the peace. She looked directly at me. Especially when family money is involved. The room changed instantly. Conversation stopped. Gavin asked what she was doing. She ignored him. The folder with my name appeared on the screen behind her. The first image showed the cropped transfer. The next showed a photograph of me entering Judith's office. Then part of an email, where I'd written that an expense shouldn't be discussed until the insurance claim was complete, with the explanation of why conveniently removed. Her final slide read, Mara used Grandma's trust and expected all of us to stay quiet. Whispers spread through the room. Some guests looked uncomfortable. Others looked fascinated by the scandal unfolding in front of them. My father stood up. Mara, is this real? Before I could answer, my mother whispered that I should leave before it got any more humiliating. For whom? I asked. She had no answer. Celeste raised the microphone. I did not want to reveal this tonight. But the financial review begins Monday, and I could not let the family be blindsided. She just publicly connected the presentation to the review herself. That was the opening I'd been waiting for. I walked toward the stage and paused the slideshow. Celeste gave the crowd a sympathetic smile. Mara, I know this is difficult. Pause it, I said. Taryn activated a second microphone and my voice filled the room. Celeste realized in that second that Derek no longer controlled the screen. You do not get to hijack my engagement party, she said. You used it to accuse me of theft. I am asking for the complete records to be shown. Gavin looked at her. Are those records complete? Celeste ignored him. Jade connected the secure laptop. The cropped transaction appeared on one side of the screen, the full statement on the other. The missing description identified emergency repairs at Grandma's home, then the contractor invoice, then the approval, signed by Grandma, my father, and Judith. Finally, the insurance reimbursement, replacing the entire amount. My father stared at his own signature. I approved this. Yes, I said. My mother moved closer. Why was this hidden from us? Because the insurance investigation was still open. Judith advised us not to discuss it outside the people handling the claim. Celeste laughed weakly. Those files could have been created today. Judith's voice came through the speakers. They were not. Her image appeared on the screen. Several relatives recognized her instantly. Mara acted within her authority. The repair was approved, documented, and reimbursed. Celeste's presentation omitted material information and created a false impression. Celeste tightened her grip on the microphone. You have always favored Mara. My responsibility is to the trust, Judith said. Not either, sister. Jade displayed the metadata. The image from the family chat had been exported from a computer registered to Celeste's company and modified 12 days earlier. The projector log showed the same file uploaded by Derek that same afternoon. Taryn stepped beside the stage and confirmed. Derek wasn't part of the venue's approved staff. That he'd admitted receiving direct payment from Celeste to replace the scheduled slideshow. Celeste looked around for support. It was supposed to be a family intervention. I paid someone because I wanted the truth presented professionally. Then why did your email tell him to begin only after I drank from the glass at the family table? I asked. Gavin turned toward her. What glass? Celeste said nothing. Before this presentation began, I told the room. I watched my sister place something into my wine. I switched our glasses while she was turned away. The venue preserved both glasses, and medical staff have been monitoring her since she drank the one meant for me. Chairs moved. Someone gasped. My mother covered her mouth. My father looked at Celeste like he no longer recognized her. She tried to laugh. That is insane. Mara has always been dramatic. Jade played her video. The screen showed Celeste approaching my glass, checking the guests around her, moving her hand over the rim. The venue footage showed the same moment from above. Neither recording revealed exactly what the substance was, but both confirmed the sequence. Celeste shifted straight from denial to anger. It was not dangerous, she snapped. It was only supposed to calm her down. The room went completely silent. She'd just admitted knowing exactly what was in the glass. Gavin stepped away from her. You put something in her drink without telling her. You do not understand. Mara becomes emotional when confronted. I needed people to see how unstable she is. You needed me confused while you displayed edited records, I said. That was not an intervention. It was a setup, Judith interrupted. This is no longer only about the repair transaction. The screen changed to show unauthorized access attempts connected to the trust portal. Several traced to an internet address associated with Celeste's office. A lender had also contacted Judith to verify a letter carrying a signature she didn't recognize. Celeste pointed at the screen. Turn that off. Gavin looked at her. Why? Private business does not belong in front of these people. You invited them to watch you accuse me of theft, I said. Privacy mattered only when the document stopped being about me. Jade displayed the lender inquiry. It referenced a bridge loan connected to family assets and listed Celeste's company. Gavin finally asked the question no one else had said out loud. Did you use the trust to borrow money? Celeste looked at him, then at our parents. Her confidence was gone. It is more complicated than that. Judith opened the next file. Then the complete record should make it easier to understand. Celeste's lie about me had completely collapsed. What came next revealed exactly why she'd been willing to risk her engagement, her reputation, and my safety, all in one night. The document was an application for a private bridge loan, made in the name of Celeste's company. She told the lender her business expected several major contracts, and that family-backed assets made the loan low risk. The application listed property owned by the family trust as possible collateral. Celeste never had the authority to make that promise. Any use of trust property required approval from Grandma, Judith, and the other trustees. She'd attached a letter claiming she had that permission. Judith displayed her real signature beside the one on the letter. They were clearly different. The false document even contained a reference number that had never existed. The lender had noticed the inconsistency and contacted Judith directly, that call was what moved the entire trust review forward. Another. Record showed Celeste had already received a limited advance while the lender completed verification. The money had gone toward overdue office rent, unpaid event invoices, personal credit card balances, designer furniture, and the deposit for the very engagement party around us. Gavin stared at the payment record. You paid for tonight with that money. It was temporary, Celeste said. I had hotel contracts coming. You told me your company had its best year? It would have been if people stopped questioning every decision I made. The lender hadn't completed the full loan because ownership of the trust property couldn't be verified. Celeste had already spent most of the advance. If Monday's review confirmed the documents were false, repayment would be demanded immediately, and the matter could be referred for investigation. She needed time. Her plan was to destroy my credibility before that review. If the family believed I'd misused the trust, she could push my parents to demand my removal, delaying access to the records long enough to negotiate with the lender, or erase the files entirely. That was why she chose her own engagement party for it. Almost everyone whose opinion mattered to her was in that room. She wanted relatives, clients, and Gavin's colleagues to witness my supposed breakdown. She genuinely believed one public scene could outweigh years of clean records. You wanted me to look impaired, I said, then accused me of stealing so no one would believe me once the loan was discovered. Celeste's expression hardened. You already had everything. Grandma trusted you. Mom and Dad compared us. You had your safe career and your perfect fiancé. I was expected to be exceptional every single day. No one forced you to falsify a legal letter. You do not know what it takes to keep a company alive. I know what it takes to tell the truth when the numbers are bad. She turned to our father. Dad, you know businesses borrow money. Walter looked older than he had an hour earlier. I have borrowed against assets I owned. I did not use your grandmother's property without permission. Celeste turned to our mother instead. Elaine still tried to protect her. Can we end the presentation and discuss this privately? Gavin cut in. She interfered with Mara's drink and used our engagement party to support false documents. This is more than a family discussion. Elaine started crying. Celeste has been under enormous pressure. I'd heard those exact words my entire life. Pressure had always been Celeste's permission. My pain had always been something I was supposed to manage quietly. Walter looked at Elaine. We have used that excuse too long. Celeste stared at him. You are choosing Mara now. This is not about choosing between daughters, he said. It is about what you did. Gavin stepped onto the stage. Did you know the letter was false before tonight? Celeste hesitated. I was going to fix it. Did you know the lender believed family property backed the loan? I needed the advance. Did you plan to make Mara look unstable in front of everyone here? Celeste looked away. Gavin removed the ring he'd been wearing for their engagement photos and set it down beside the microphone. I cannot marry someone who uses people to protect an image. Celeste stared at it. Do not do this here. You chose here. You are humiliating me. You built the humiliation into the schedule, he said, and stepped back when she reached for his arm. The engagement is over. Several clients avoided her eyes. 2 executives from Gavin's company left quietly. The photographer lowered his camera. No one rushed to comfort her. The audience she'd gathered to witness my collapse was now watching hers. Engagement, cue. Strong pattern interrupt moment. Good place for an on-screen comment below. Would you have forgiven her, or was this unforgivable? Teaser to seed the closing question. Celeste moved toward the laptop and security blocked her. Those files belong to my company. Taryn explained the venue had preserved everything connected to the unauthorized presentation and the safety incident. Celeste tried to grab the remote, lost her balance, and was helped into a chair by the medical worker. She insisted the substance was mild, that everyone was exaggerating. That second admission made my father close his eyes. Local officers had already been contacted because an unknown substance had been placed into a guest's drink without consent. They didn't drag her out. They spoke with Taryn, reviewed the videos, collected Derek's statement, and asked Jade and me what we'd witnessed. They photographed the glasses and handled the evidence properly. Derek provided his emails and payment records. Judith agreed to send certified financial documents directly to investigators and the lender. Celeste was medically evaluated and later asked to give a formal statement. No one announced a sentence that night. Real consequences began quietly, with records, witnesses, reports, and doors that no longer opened for her. My father signed an emergency request freezing Celeste's access to any related accounts. My mother sat beside him, crying. We kept fixing things for her. We thought we were helping. You taught her someone else would always pay, I said. Celeste heard me. You think you won? You destroyed my engagement, my company, and my life, because you always wanted what I had. I looked around. The flowers, the untouched cake, the silent band, the guests quietly gathering their belongings. None of it had protected her from the truth. I did not destroy the life you built, I said. I stopped you from building it on my name. Taryn ended the event. Gavin left with his family. Celeste stayed in a private area while the venue finished its reports. I didn't stay to comfort my parents. Noah took my hand. Jade walked beside us. We left without looking back. Celeste had lost her engagement that night. But the deeper consequence was that my family could no longer pretend they didn't know who she'd become. The weeks after the party were quieter, but they changed more than any single night could. Judith secured temporary restrictions, preventing Celeste from accessing trust records or representing herself as someone with authority over family assets. The lender canceled the unfinished loan and demanded full repayment of the advance, referring the false authorization for investigation. The venue preserved every piece of evidence: the security footage, Derek's emails, the payment confirmation, the slideshow, everything connected to the glasses. Celeste hired an attorney and stopped speaking publicly. There was no instant trial, no tidy overnight ending. Just interviews, document requests, and months of uncertainty. What changed immediately was her control. She lost access to the trust. She lost the assumption that our parents would automatically believe her first. She lost Gavin, who confirmed in writing that the engagement was over. 2 major clients suspended their work with her once they learned she'd used edited financial records at a private event. Without new contracts, and with the lender demanding repayment, she closed her Manhattan office and sold most of its furniture and equipment. My father refused to pay her business debts. My mother asked, twice, whether they should make one final payment to keep Celeste from losing everything. For the first time in his life, he said no. My parents sent a written correction to every relative who'd received the false screenshots. It explained that the repair transaction had been authorized, reimbursed, and properly documented, and it admitted the images shown at the party had been deliberately edited to create a false accusation. That public correction mattered more to me than any private apology could have. The lie had been spread widely. The truth needed to travel just as far. Walter and Elaine later asked to meet with Noah and me. My father admitted he'd spent years calling favoritism protection. My mother said they'd repeatedly asked me to stay quiet because I was the daughter most likely to actually cooperate. We punished you for being responsible, she said, and rewarded Celeste every time she made the situation impossible. I believed they'd finally understood part of the damage. Understanding didn't restore trust immediately, though. I told them I would not discuss Celeste's case outside conversations that included attorneys. I would not give them money to help her. I would not accept surprise visits, pressure to forgive, or messages suggesting family peace depended on my silence. If they wanted a relationship with me, they'd need to respect those boundaries and seek counseling for the patterns they'd created. My mother cried, but she didn't argue. My father agreed. That was the first sign their apology might become something more than words. A month later, Noah and I got married near a small lake, with fewer than 40 guests. No elaborate stage, no surprise presentation. Jade stood beside me. Judith attended, since Grandma wasn't healthy enough to travel. My parents were invited under clear conditions, and they respected every one of them. Celeste was not invited. Some relatives called that cruel. I called it a boundary. Shared blood doesn't create an unlimited right to enter someone else's safest moments. During the reception, Noah asked whether I regretted staying at Celeste's party long enough to expose the truth. I told him I regretted only that I hadn't trusted my instincts sooner. For years, I thought strength meant absorbing mistreatment without reacting. I believed calmness required silence. That night taught me the difference. Calmness helped me preserve evidence. Silence would have protected the person harming me. Evidence gave me a voice. Boundaries gave me a future. I also learned revenge isn't always about making someone suffer. The most meaningful consequence wasn't Celeste losing her engagement or her office. It was that she could no longer use my reputation, my cooperation, or my parents' favoritism as resources whenever things got hard for her. She finally had to face her own problems without forcing someone else to carry them. A quick, important note before I close this out. If you ever genuinely believe a drink has been interfered with, the safest response is to stop drinking it immediately. Notify venue or event staff. Stay with someone you trust. Preserve the glass if you safely can and seek medical help. Don't try to investigate an unknown substance alone. My choice to switch the glasses came from fear in the moment, and it is not something I'd actually recommend to anyone. Safety always comes before confrontation. The same principle holds for financial manipulation. Save original messages. Keep complete records. Never alter digital evidence yourself. Talk to qualified legal or financial professionals instead of trying to win a family argument through accusations. Truth becomes far stronger once it's organized and documented. Most importantly, those boundaries are not revenge. They simply define what behavior you will no longer allow near your money, your relationships, or your peace. Forgiveness does not require restored access. Love without accountability eventually becomes permission. And peace that's built on one person's silence was never really peace at all. Celeste wanted her guests to remember that party as the night I was exposed. Instead, they remembered it as the night her own presentation revealed the exact truth she was trying to bury. I didn't win because I shouted louder, or because I hurt her more than she hurt me. I won because I trusted what I saw, protected the evidence, accepted help from people who actually respected me, and refused to let the loudest liar in the room decide how my story ended. So here's what I actually want to know from you. What would you have done in my place? Exposed her the second you saw that packet go into the glass, or waited the way I did until every single piece of evidence became impossible to deny? Tell me exactly what you'd have done, down in the comments. And if you've ever had to set a hard boundary with someone your own family kept quietly protecting no matter what they did, I want to hear that story too. This is Second Seat Stories. If this one kept you watching until the very end, that's exactly the kind of story we tell here every week. So make sure you're subscribed, because you do not want to miss what's coming next.